Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And as we do every meeting, if you would stand with me, Councilman James Reed is going to lead us in a word of prayer.
Bow your heads. Father, as we gather to do the business of the city, we want to thank you, first of all, for our freedom. We ask your blessings on our country and its leadership. We ask for your blessings on our city and your leadership in the decisions that are going to be helpful to all. Lord, we ask you to forgive us in our failures. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Now, Councilman Knockin, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Tammy, can we get a roll call, please?
Long.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Bivens.
Here.
Knockan. Here. Reed.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Waymack.
Thank you, Tammy. Next item is approval of minutes from our last meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the September City Council minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Norma, second from James. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Long.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Bivens.
Yes.
Knockan.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Waymack.
Passes 7-0. Next item from our last meeting is the September Special Council minutes. Can I get a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Norma, second from Matt Weber to accept the September Special City Council minutes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Long.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Bivens.
Yes.
Knockan.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Waymack.
Passes 7-0. Okay, our next item is a mayor presentation. This week, if you didn't know, is Chamber of Commerce Week. We're very proud of our Chamber of Commerce. And if the three ladies that are here with us would come up to the front, I've got a little something to read, and we'll get a little picture and everything if y'all would come on up. And I'm going to meet you out there. Okay. Like I said, this week is Chamber of Commerce Week, and what I have here is a proclamation, and to the ladies of the Chamber. The Chamber of Commerce works with businesses, nonprofits, banks, industry, and merchants to advance the civic, economic, professional, and cultural life of our city. And whereas the Cabot Chamber of Commerce, founded in the year of 1959, has contributed to the civic and economic life of Cabot, Arkansas for the past 61 years. And this year marks the 61st anniversary of the founding of the Cabot Chamber of Commerce, the city's leading broad-based business organization, which serves as the unified voice for business. And the Cabot Chamber and its members provide citizens with a strong business environment that increases employment, the retail trade and commerce, and industrial growth in order to make the city of Cabot a better place to live. And whereas the Cabot Chamber of Commerce encourages the growth of existing businesses and encourages new businesses to locate in the city of Cabot, acting as a liaison within the city, schools, and the business community. Now, therefore, I, Ken Kincaid, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Cabot in Lonoke County, state of Arkansas, proclaim this week of October 19th through October 23rd, 2020 as Chamber of Commerce Week in the city of Cabot to acknowledge the numerous benefits and services that the Cabot Chamber of Commerce provides to the businesses and residents in our community. Let's give them a hand. Thank you, Chamber, for all you do. Okay. Next item is read ordinance and resolutions by title only. Can I get a motion?
Second.
I got a motion from Damon, a second from Ron to read ordinances and resolution by title only. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bivens,
Yes.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Okay, we have 3 items of old business as per the agenda. First is ordinance number 26 of 2020, please, Tammy.
Number 26 of 2020, an ordinance creating, certifying, and confirming tax liens against real properties at various locations within the city of Cabot for funds expended to pay for services rendered due to code violations and for other purposes. Third reading.
Make a motion, we adopt ordinance 26 of 2020.
Second.
I got a motion from Ed and a second from James to adopt ordinance number 26 of 2020. Any discussion? Any from the audience? What this is allowing us to put liens on property that are due monies to the city that haven't paid. Anyone want to speak? Okay.
I do have one question.
Go ahead.
Is that like for not maintaining your property and things like that?
Yes, sir. And they didn't do it, and we had to do it, and we had to charge them. Yes, sir. Okay, seeing no other discussion, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Waymack,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bivens,
Yes.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Okay, next item is ordinance number 27 of 2020.
Number 27 of 2020, an ordinance creating, certifying, and confirming tax liens against real properties at various locations within the city of Cabot for funds expended to pay for services rendered due to code violations and for other purposes. Second reading.
Make a motion, we suspend the third reading of 27, 2020.
Second.
I got a motion from Ed, a second from Norma to suspend the third reading of ordinance number 27 of 2020. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Bivens,
Yes.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Make a motion, we adopt 27 of 2020.
And a second.
I got a motion from Ed, a second from James Reed to adopt ordinance number 27 of 2020. Any discussion? Any from the audience? It's the same thing as the first one. It's just this different property that we have to do separate ordinances on. And this has to do with someone not paying the city for work that was performed. Yes, they were in code violation, and we had to do work for them.
So that's not the same as 26?
It's the same as 26. It's different property. Yeah, we have to do different ordinances for the property. Good question. If you want to know particular what it was about, Laura, do you remember what this one was about? Okay. We kind of group them all in months, different properties in months, and then bring them to the council, because we can't put a lien on something without council approval. Any other questions from the audience?
Mayor, I had a question I'd like to ask, if I could, of Laura. Can you please tell me, in your best guesstimation, how many of these seem to be repeat offenders on your list month after month after month?
I went back for the past 3 years. I've done 2018, 2019, and then as of current this year. I didn't add up how many. I have 2.5 pages worth for the past 3 years, and of those 2.5 pages, 6 are repeats that have 4 or more violations. All the others have 3 or less violations that are repeats, but of the repeat ones, we've got no response out of them. No responses. We send letters, we either get them back, or we just do not hear from them.
And some people in the past, Matt, just don't care.
Obviously, and I wish there was some way that we could put more teeth into this to get their attention.
I understand.
That's my own personal view.
And Laura, if I'm correct, tax liens will not be collected until the property is sold. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So our money's tied up until it's sold, basically.
Either that, or I believe the county puts them on the next year's tax bill.
Tax bill, okay.
But
okay.
they don't pay it, so it rolls on, it keeps on
Right.
going.
Correct.
Mayor, may I inquire of Laura?
Yes, sir.
Laura, did you draw a line at the bottom of that and add it through your adding machine? How much money's on those 2 pages?
I did not do that, to be honest. No, I did not.
You were afraid to, weren't you?
Honestly, yes.
Thank you.
I mean, I'll be honest, I budget almost $7,000 a year for nuisance and abatement. And I use every bit of it every year.
Yeah.
Mr. Long, I'd like to thank you for asking that question. That was one that I didn't think of, and I sent all my questions to Miss Laura this morning.
We're just trying to recover taxpayer money on that. We do, we are successful on some of it.
Correct.
Some of it has been on the books, and if we don't redo these, after 3 years or something like that, they fall off. So after the middle of the night, there's a lot of paperwork and paper shuffling that has to go on with it.
Correct.
Just in order to recover taxpayer money on people that won't do the right thing.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
It's for not mowing your yard. Yes, that's what every one of these are. Unless it's a board and secure, I will take that back. There may be a few that are board secure, but 95% of these are because people will not mow their yard.
And they will give you a warning, they will put it on your screen.
Absolutely, we give one you do anything.
Just what we gotta say.
And trust me, we'd rather you mow your yard than us having to pay somebody a lot of money to do it. Right.
And we don't know if somebody moves out or if it's a vacant, most of the time it's a vacant house, so we send it to the property owner that is listed.
Any other questions for Laura? Yes, sir.
I'd just like to thank Laura for humoring me because I only asked 2 of my questions, and this is all my questions that I sent to her, and she did a great job and educated me a little bit more this evening when we showed up. So thank you.
Anytime.
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate you. Okay, we have a motion to second on the floor to adopt.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please. Tammy?
Bivens. Yes. Narcan.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Waymack.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. And Ed, thank you for the kind words. Next item, Tammy, ordinance number 36 of 2020.
Number 36 of 2020, an ordinance to approve an economic development services agreement with the Cabot Chamber of Commerce to waive competitive bidding, to provide for the release of funds, and for other purposes. Second reading.
Any action? Okay. All right, we're going to go to new business. First item is ordinance number 37 of 2020.
Number 37 of 2020, an ordinance creating, certifying, and confirming tax liens against real properties at various locations within the city of Cabot for funds expended to pay for services rendered due to code violations and for other purposes. First reading.
Mayor, if the council has no objections to this, I would like to lump this into the other two that we have just passed, waive the second, third reading on this. Due action on tonight is exactly the same thing. Make one trip to one of those before the end of the year.
We'd appreciate that.
And I'll second that.
I got a motion from Ed, a second from James to waive the second and third reading of ordinance number 37 of 2020. Any discussion? All in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack, Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bivens.
Passes 7-0.
Motion to adopt 37 of 2020.
Second.
I got a motion from Ed, a second from Matt to adopt number 37 of 2020. Any discussion? Any? Go ahead. Okay, when you do come up to speak, I don't know if you just heard Matthew, please speak in the mic. You're going to have to put it almost to your mouth. I mean, like you're almost eating it. And I'm sorry, but they can't hear you unless you really talk. You see, well, that's why I'm almost eating this mic right here, because they've told me in the past they can't hear me unless I put it up close to my mouth. So if you would, please do so when you come up. Council members as well, they're saying, okay. Please, council members, put your mics up to your mouth, if you would, please. Any audience input? This is the same thing as the other two, just a different batch. Seeing none, all in favor of adopting ordinance number 37 of 2020, say yes. Roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bivens.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item is ordinance number 38 of 2020. Please, Tammy.
Number 38 of 2020, an ordinance accepting the annexation of certain territory referred to as Lakewood Subdivision Phase 2A to the city of Cabot, Arkansas, and making that territory part of the city of Cabot, Arkansas, assigning the annexed property to a ward, zoning the annexed property, and for other purposes. First reading.
Laura, on this one, do we want to waive the second, third, because it's 100% developer, correct? Okay. Council, this is the subdivision behind the bowling alley. It's their next phase, and the developer would like you to waive the second and third so we can get started on getting these permits done and houses built.
I motion to waive second and third reading on ordinance 38 of 2020.
Second.
I got a motion from Norma, a second from Ed, to waive the second and third readings of ordinance number 38 of 2020. Any discussion?
Mayor, I do have a question about
Yes, sir.
this. On this subdivision, when it was originally put in, to meet fire code for a subdivision this size, a secondary ingress and egress was going to be required. I know that there was a provision made to connect it back over to another property. I need to see if we annex this in, are we annexing in property that's going to put that piece of property in violation of fire code?
Fire Chief Dwayne Boswell.
Is it on? Okay. short answer is yes, it will. It's going to have a secondary artery out back onto 321 or somewhere out. They right now we're working with the developer to have a turnaround in there so that if we do get back in there, we don't have to back all the way back out during the development phase. But we've been speaking with Laura and Monty and all those folks. But yeah, they will have to have a secondary egress out of that at some point in time as they continue to develop.
Go ahead.
So, Chief, our annexation will not hinder that, your negotiations?
To develop, then we may have to come up with a plan B on how to get out, because whether they all annex it or not is once they start to develop and begin that phase, then that's when we'd get involved with the Planning Commission and through Chief Hefner, the Fire Marshal. But as far as annexing the land, I mean, that has nothing to do with fire code. This ordinance that's on the table now is to annex the land as it goes through the Planning Commission, as it goes through the development phase. And at that point in time, we'd get involved and provide our recommendations as far as that goes. And it's up to the owner to work within the Planning Commission based off of our recommendations.
Norma, but yes, they're addressing all that.
That answers my question. If you can work with this.
Anybody have any more questions for Dwayne? Thank you, Chief.
Mayor, I do have one other quick question.
Shoot.
If there are people living in this portion we're annexing at this point,
No, sir.
I wanted to count them on the 2020 census.
It'd been nice. But I don't think they're going to let us do it.
Okay.
So what's on the floor again, Tammy?
We have a motion and a second to suspend the second and third readings.
Okay. Any other discussion on waiving the second and third? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bibbins,
Yes.
Knockan.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Motion to adopt ordinance 38 of 2020.
Second.
I got a motion from Kevin, a second from James to adopt number 38 of 2020. Any discussion?
Yes, I don't see an emergency clause attached to the title, so I'm assuming they don't want the emergency clause. If they do, we need to know now.
We can't do the emergency clause on this one.
Okay.
By law, we can't.
Okay.
Good point, though. Any other discussion? How about from the audience? We're just annexing some property behind the bowling alley is what this is. And developer would like it. No one lives there, so no one has to sign and agree. This is 100% developer. Seeing no discussions, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bibbins,
Yes.
Knockan.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item, ordinance number 39 of 2020.
Number 39 of 2020, an ordinance to repeal ordinance number 3 of 2014, declaring an emergency and for the purposes, first reading.
And as you know, this is the employee handbook that y'all looked at in the work session. And we're asking for the waiving of the second and third and the emergency clause. Nope.
Yeah, we need to waive that emergency clause. Whenever we talked about it, guys, in the work session, we was planning on doing it as a resolution, but the previous handbook had been adopted by ordinance.
Right.
So that's why it's come back now. It's the same thing, but we see it as an ordinance, and as you know, it takes an ordinance to repeal an ordinance. So we hope to clean that up with this, where that from here forth on, we can, was that even a sentence? Did it make sense?
Yeah, that makes
From
sense.
now forward, we'll be able to do it by resolution, which makes things much, much easier. So that's why we see it under, same thing under a different title.
I make a motion that we waive second and third reading.
Second.
I got a motion from James, a second from Norma, to waive the second and third reading of ordinance number 39 of 2020. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bibbins,
Yes.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Our Director of Personnel or Human Resources, whatever he wants to call himself this week, has asked for the emergency clause on that. So I move that we adopt emergency clause.
What now?
Second.
We got to adopt first.
So I move we adopt the ordinance.
Yes, sir.
I'll second that.
I got a motion from Ed, a second from Norma to adopt the ordinance number 39 of 2020. Any discussion? Public? Basically what we're doing is we're getting rid of an old handbook. We're about to do a new one later in the evening.
He has discussed this with personnel and everything. Everybody's aware of it.
Yes, all directors are in agreement. Seeing no other discussion, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bibbins,
Yes.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Now, I renew Matthew's request through a motion that we adopt the emergency clause.
Second.
I got a motion from Ed, a second from Matt to adopt the emergency clause of ordinance number 39 of 2020. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bibbins,
Yes.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item is ordinance number 40 of 2020. And on this one right here, what I need to ask is, we got an email from the Cabot wastewater, and they're telling us that Arkansas National Resource Commission gave us some wrong information on some verbiage, and what they're wanting to do is ask us if we would table this, and that we'd have a special meeting sometime later this month, because they'd like to get this active and ready to go by December 1st. But they apologized and asked us if we could table this until they have the new paperwork ready.
I make a motion, we table
40.
40? Yeah, 40, 20,
I'll second.
for a special meeting later on.
Okay, thank you, Ed. I got a motion by Ed to table number 40 of 2020 for a special meeting later on, and a second from James Reed. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bibbins,
Yes.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item, resolution number 42 of 2020.
Number 42 of 2020, excuse me, a resolution authorizing the City of Cabot to adopt the City of Cabot Personnel Handbook and for other purposes.
I motion to approve ordinance 42 of 2020.
Resolution.
Resolution, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Resolution 42 of 2020.
Second.
I got a motion by Norma and a second by Ed to approve resolution number 42 of 2020. Any discussion by council? Any by the audience? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bibbins,
Yes.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item is resolution number 43 of 2020.
Number 43 of 2020, a resolution amending the General Fund 2020 budget and the Street Fund 2020 budget, appropriating the various amounts herein and for other purposes.
Move to adopt resolution 43 of 20.
Second.
I got a motion by Kevin, a second by Ed to adopt number resolution 43 of 2020. Any discussion? And for everyone in the audience, what this does is we just have to get authorization to spend any money that wasn't in the budget. And when we received some police cars in 20 that should have been in 2019, and then we also
Roofing.
Roofing, we had a roof project that came up that we didn't budget for, that the council is now amending. And the last item was, help me out,
Payroll.
Overlay.
No, or a payday.
payday. And then we have to do a special payday at the end of the year because we have 53 weeks versus 52. It happens every 9, 11 years or whatever it may be. So that's what this is. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bivens,
Yes.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item, resolution number 44 of 2020.
44 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the Lonoke County Housing Authority to operate within the city limits of Cabot and for other purposes.
I move to adopt Resolution 44 of 20.
Second.
I got a motion by Kevin, a second by Matt, to adopt resolution number 44 of 2020. Any discussion? All in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bivens.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item, resolution number 45 of 2020.
Number 45 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk treasurer to apply for state and federal reimbursement funds through the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Relief Fund, and any other related source and for other purposes.
I move to adopt Resolution 45 of 2020.
Second.
I got a motion from Kevin, a second by Ed, to adopt resolution number 45 of 2020. Any discussion? Any from the audience? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bivens,
Yes.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item, resolution number 46 of 2020.
Number 46 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk treasurer to utilize Friday, Eldridge, and Clark LLP in connection with the refunding of certain outstanding sales and use tax bonds, the financing of various capital improvements, and the levy of a new 1% sales and use tax to replace an existing 1% sales and use tax, and prescribing other matters pertaining thereto.
Thank you, Tammy.
Move to adopt 46 of 20.
Second.
I got a motion by Kevin, a second by Norma, to adopt resolution number 46 of 2020. Any discussion? Any by the audience?
Is there a place where when these are first submitted that we can get your
Yes, we usually do it in the work session, and if it's not in the work session at the first of the month, it's something that's added because of time-sensitive constraints. Basically what this does is allow us to work with Friday, Eldridge, and Clark as our legal team. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Long,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bivens,
Yes.
Knockan,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item, resolution number 47 of 2020.
Resolution number 47 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the City of Cabot to apply to the Arkansas Spay and Neuter Grant Program, authorizing the mayor and city clerk treasurer to execute all necessary documents to apply for that grant, authorizing the city to spend awarded funds pursuant to the terms of the grant and for other purposes.
I motion to adopt 47 of 2020. Resolution 47 of 2020, sorry.
I'll second.
I got a motion from Norma, a second by James, to adopt resolution number 47 of 2020. Any discussion?
I've got one comment that I want to make on this. Guys, this is different from any of the other spay and neuter grants that we've worked over the years. This is for shelter animals only. So what that's going to do, it's going to free up some of our budgeted funds to be able to budget somewhere else, not give them back, but to be able to budget them in another area. It's unusual. We don't see these. I think, actually, this is my first one that I've ever seen, but it is for shelter animals. And we've applied for grants before and have been awarded grants to operate spay and neuter clinics for the public and those kinds of things, but this is the first one that I recall that has ever been for shelter animals. Kind of proud of it.
Yeah, I agree. And for everyone to know, Mike Wheeler, our community services director, was behind getting this one for us. So appreciate you, Mike. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of resolution number 47 of 2020, please, Tammy.
Long.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Bivens.
Yes.
Knockan.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Waymack.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Any other new business? I don't have any on my agenda. Does anyone else on council would like to bring some new business? Next item, we move into community input. And what we ask is if you'd come to the podium, state your name for the record, and if you take 2 or 3 minutes to discuss. And I know some of you are here for the RV trailer parking issue. And just want to let you know, we want you to come up here. Even I've invited some of you to be here tonight. Love to hear your thoughts on what you would like to see the law to read. We're going to suspend that right now because we have 2 council people, Norma and James, who've asked to put that back into committee or our work session in November, the 1st of November. So I won't be enforcing it right now. I'm just going to let this all play out to see what's right. But still, if you have that issue, if you would please let me know or let us know what ideas you have and what you think would be fair or just for us to do as a city.
Mayor, I got a recommendation.
Yes, sir.
I as well recommend to the chairman of municipal services and co-chair that it be put back to the planning commission for another review. It is law right now, but the enforcement can be a little more suspended. It is
Yes,
our
sir.
fault, but public input is important on these kind of issues, and it did go through quietly through the planning and the city council. I don't think it was ever rushed.
No.
But I do recommend that for the public safety. Just as another councilman, I recommend the chair and co-chair to put it back into the planning commission for the time. And then it'll come back to us eventually.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, I know 3 on the record. I believe Ed as well wanted it to go back, and everybody's shaking their head down there. So yes, we're in unanimous consent to let it go back. We would just love to hear your input. So when you come up, when you do talk, please give us some recommendations of what you'd like to see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm Gerald Highslip, and I live at 27 Applewood Circle down here, and handed out some pictures for y'all to look at the drive that I put in for my camper, and I got a professional to do the concrete work to make sure it was all within codes, and took extra steps to make sure that the city meter could get access to the city meters. And my ideal about this is, number one, it's my property, and I was hoping possibly to get a grandfather clause because of the amount of money I spent to have the concrete slab poured. I really haven't came up with anything else to help y'all with making a decision on this other than that. I just wanted to voice my opinion about it because I know it's for beautification, and I'm all for that. I try to keep my yard clean and nice looking, and but I do think that there are certain circumstances that might be considered for these types of situations. So I would appreciate y'all's looking into all that for me, and I understand what you were saying earlier about sending it back to the public works. So hopefully I'll keep an eye out for that when that comes back in. November 2nd.
November 2nd, 6:30.
All right, sir. I will be here.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your input.
Mayor, council. So I agree with this gentleman here. I myself, Jeffrey Ferguson, I live at 29 Reno, right behind Home Depot. Personally, I've moved in. I wouldn't say it was a extraordinary thing to have to do, but I moved in SB2 gravel to be able to park a 24-foot flatbed that I have. Me and my wife use quite regularly. It's not really so much that I'm concerned about myself and the use that I have for mine, but for people who have, let's say, lawn businesses or something that don't live in a house or have 10 acres that they can park their stuff on, and it's, you know, back away from city view. So much so as I don't know how they're going to be able to go back and forth to be able to put their stuff up every night, take it to a storage lot. That's twice a day. As far as it being rushed, the second and third reading and an emergency clause was put in place, so I feel like there was not enough example for the citizens to be able to see what was actually being changed. I personally don't know what was changed. I do know that if I want to keep my trailer there, it has to be either behind a fence or on concrete behind the front of my house. I park my 1-ton truck out front. I don't think there's any different in a 24-foot trailer and a 20-foot truck. That's just my opinion. Again, I agree with this gentleman here. I don't know, maybe it's for beautification as the way it's being viewed. I feel like there might be a ordinance that might cover generalistic stuff like that, whereas if it's trashy, it's dirty, it's just old stuff, it's just piled up, maybe we can put that under an ordinance that has a generalistic overview of that. I don't know what this ordinance was changed from. Is there anyone that could, I guess, tell me what the old ordinance read versus what the new one reads?
The ordinance was that much different, am I right? Yeah. Going back 10 years, but some things had changed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But public input is always important. I mean,
Absolutely.
There's no ordinance that's not breathing. There is no ordinance that's not breathing. They can all change. That's why it's going back to the planning committee.
I understand. I've just had it there for about a year now, and
Define paid services.
gotcha.
and
I understand.
define it does.
Well,
Yes, sir.
I could kind of understand that, but at the same time, I don't let weeds or grass or anything grow up in mine. They're held in by railroad ties. I'm not going to sit here and berate you with it. I'm sure you understand my feeling on it, and I guess this gentleman over here too. I would hope that along with these two council members here, that my two could join in on them too to support repealing that. And like I said, if it comes down to a beautification type deal, I'm sure there's an ordinance that we already have that all that stuff can be put underneath. I could be wrong. I'd even be willing to do the research and bring it back to you if I have to.
You lived on Reno, right?
Reno.
That'd be in Ward 1, and that's his and my ward.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you got a recommendation from two of us. So yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. Appreciate you.
Jeff Clifton. I live at 37 G Street, and I too found one of these pieces of paper on my door, and it was about my boat. And so I had no idea about an ordinance that we may have in place that prevented you from parking your boat in your driveway. So I guess my question is, just like the gentleman before me, how did the ordinance read before? What was the change, and why now have we decided to start enforcing this ordinance? I looked out on the council website and I could not find this ordinance. How would I find this out there so I could read the verbiage of it?
And I can't remember off the top of my head. At the top, you know, you have all the little links, and
Yep.
It's kind of hidden in there, but you can find under ordinances or laws, you can get to it where you can search by it. It allows you to do that, but it's not right there for one to see.
Okay, so I went into the search and I did type in ordinance. I typed in ordinance 30. It gave me all sorts of different things, but I never found ordinance 30. So I was just curious where it was at, because I would like to see that, unfortunately for them, I know this is about RVs, but for me, it's about my boat. And I'm very similar to the gentleman that have spoken before. I keep my boat covered. It's in very neat shape. So I try my best not to make it look bad at all. And as I drive around my neighborhood, I see boats similar position. They have the covers on them. They're on the cement driveway. So I do thank you that you're going to send this back to the council, have them review it at least. But I agree that, and I was thinking about that too, this should fall under some sort of a beautification ordinance that we may have rather than what it is now.
Talk to our clerk treasurer. If you
Yes.
give her your email, she'll send you a copy of it.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Sir,
Miss Tammy.
what is your address by curiosity?
37 G Street,
He's in Ward 3.
Ward 3, yes.
And we have motion to, James and I have an ordinance to repeal that ordinance and send it back to Planning Commission for further discussion.
I am too, just like these folks before me. My name is Ken Conrad, and I live at 421 Bradley Drive. And I myself, I have just made a significant investment in my camper or my RV, and as well as a covering beside my home. It is a three vehicle carport, but it's got in the middle. I've made a significant area there for my RV, and it covers the whole, and it looks pretty well. I think it looks really good. And but during a conversation with some friends, we found out that this ordinance has been looked at, and like everyone else, I'm just like surprised that, and I understand, I'm like these folks, I understand the beautification issue, but for those who have made a significant investment to make their property look and their vehicle, I just want to stand in here with these folks and say, hey, please consider our investment as well. We love the city, and we love the way, we love the ideas that you're proposing for us, but we just really want to consider again the grandfather issue. That if y'all would, y'all welcome to send you some pictures, or y'all can come by and look at the property, and we can maybe have a discussion, an open discussion about what you're requiring. But again, sometimes these surprises come up and you just don't understand what's going on and the reason behind it. Well, we do understand, but we're also asking that you please give us some understanding on our investments too. And we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Right. Anyone else?
Gundaker, and my husband's Bill Gundaker, and we live in 23 Shenandoah Way. This was quite a surprise. I try to keep up with things that are going on in Cabot. We live in Shiloh, and there are like 3 trailers or vans and RVs, small, in our neighborhood that nobody's ever complained of and are neat and parked beside, the garages. And so this was a shock. And the thing that I wanted to mention, besides what Ken said, keeping everything neat, and the yard's neat and all that, and we have a covenant in our neighborhood, so everybody complies with that, is that one thing I don't know that you've considered, we're retired and have tried not to be in debt and be prepared for the fact that we're on limited incomes. And I think that maybe you're not thinking about the people that own, it's generally the older generation that has RVs and trailers and campers that sometimes $3,000 to $5,000 might not sound like anybody that's working, but it can be a lot for an elderly person that suddenly needs to build a pad or, maybe 2 pads if they've got a trailer, like a utility trailer. and that's something to think about because we have a large elderly community in this town, and that you don't think about things like that until maybe you are an elderly person. And I think that you need to think long and hard about this. And also, I've lived in Cabot for 36 years, my husband 38 years, and I think it's a challenge. I know it's a challenge for you when you're trying to consider the whole community. I realize that. But I think this one you need to table and really look at it from all angles. And again, like the others have said, those things that are eyesores, that are bringing down a neighborhood, yes, they need to be addressed. I agree with that. Because we don't want our town looking junky. And when people come in and want to buy houses in this town, we want them to stay here. But just kind of rethink it all and consider what we're saying tonight. I appreciate that.
Dr. Gundaker.
And I'm sorry, I meant to ask this when I was up here. So if this does pass through and you leave the ordinance the way it is, what would the fine be considered? I mean, would it be issued monthly? Would it be issued weekly? How much would the fine be? I mean, do we have any ideas yet?
Or do we have the that detailed out yet? And what's that? Again, I can't remember.
Oh, so we don't know until we show up in court. Is that right?
Pretty much, and sometimes the judge, depending on your circumstances, says, hey, I'm not going to uphold it. He might say, I'm going to withhold it. We're just there to issue the citations if
Sure,
if the law is broken.
But just like the woman was saying, some people are on a fixed income. If
Mhm.
it go through and they can't afford to store it somewhere in a storage building away from their house or something, then it would be nice to know what that fine would be so you could budget that in if you can't find another location for your RV or whatever the circumstance is. So.
From the council, I know these men and women up here, and I believe we're going to come up with a solution. But I would encourage you and the rest of the group to come November 2nd.
Absolutely.
So you can hear maybe what we've come up with to see if it still makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I mean, because I don't own an RV. I don't own a trailer. I'm okay with it personally, but I know some people in the community aren't because we get calls a lot from people that don't like to see your RV in your driveway and doesn't like to see your RV in your grass or doesn't like to see your RV on gravel. We get those calls from the other side.
Gotcha.
So, like Ms. Gundaker said, we just got to come up with what makes sense for Cabot.
Sure.
I think, and I think we can get there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
My name's Bill Arguelles. I live at 16 Statesboro Cove. I have the same sentiment as everyone else. I've spent good money on my RV plus a nice pad to put it on and everything. There are a couple parts of that ordinance as well, not just the parking. The talking about temporary living. I have paid to have power ran so that I can maintain my RV. If I have family coming in out of town, according to that ordinance, they can't even stay in it for a night. That, to me, I have a good room for them to stay right there. So that needs to be addressed, I think. And also the one commercial vehicle, what are we considering a commercial vehicle? Because if me and my spouse have both worked for a company, if I have a vehicle with a company name on it, that's two people in one house. I don't know if that's good either. So I just want to make sure we address all parts of that ordinance when that comes up. If my family comes in from Florida, from out of town, I want them to have somewhere they can stay. And I've paid to have all these improvements done just so I could have that. So something to consider as well.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. And anybody else, if you have any other ideas, you can email me at ken@cabotar.gov this week or whenever, ken@cabotar.gov, and I'll get with the directors and with the council if you'd like to email me something. Anyone else? Looks like, council, y'all have anything you want to add before we adjourn? Yes. We have something from the YouTube world.
Yes. Caleb Tract asked, can we bring discussion to the table for future sidewalks on Kerr Station Road? No shoulder and kids waiting for the buses in the morning, very dangerous. Thank you. And then he added, for reference, in case I get disconnected, I'm talking specifically about the foot traffic between Cabot Middle School South, Kerr Station Park, and my neighborhood on Plaza Boulevard. I live at 34 West Plaza. I've seen kids waiting for the bus and have tried to run to the park. Both are very dangerous on Kerr Station. No shoulders there. Thank you again for your consideration. I couldn't remember all that.
That's great. Now, what was his name again, Matthew?
Caleb Tract at 34 West Plaza. TRACAE, 34 West Plaza.
Caleb, that's in our plan that we would love to do for Cabot. We have checked before with our half engineers what it would cost to do a sidewalk from the railroad tracks downtown all the way to Panther Trail. And because there's so much drainage issues and such and utility issues, I believe the price tag we have, and I've got Joe here to vouch me, I think $3 million is what it would cost to do sidewalks down just that part of Kerr Station. Is that correct? Right. I don't think anybody realized that Kerr Station was going to be as popular as it was when they did it years ago, but it's one of the most traveled roads in the city. We're just going to keep putting in for grant funds and see what we can do to get that widened. But like Joe said, for those that can't hear him, we have utilities in that area, gas line, drainage issues. So to fix all that and do it right, just the area between downtown by Priscilla's School of Dance to Panther Trail, roughly $3 million. That's just one side of the road. So it's just going to take a bunch of money. And maybe that's something we look at in a bond issue, something we put in there that if that's what the people want or think we need, we can put it for the voters to decide when we do another sales tax restructure. But that's something we need to put on the list.
I think there's also a natural habitat issue right in that area too.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right.
Yeah, environmental. So.
Yeah, we've got lots of issues in that area. You're right.
But Mayor, that's one of the reasons too that the council over the last several years has been hard set on not waiving any sidewalks. Because the same argument that we heard out on Kerr Station Road 15 years ago, well, there's going to be a sidewalk to nowhere, is desperately needed now. And the council has been cognizant of that and is moving this where that we're not waiving any sidewalks. Some of them may be out there a block long or half a block long or something, but eventually they will connect and we won't be in this $3 million mess.
That's correct.
Amen.
That's correct. But we will try to do what we can, and we'll bring this before the voters if we need to. That'll be one of our ideas that we put down for things that we may want to vote on as a city. And we'll have town hall meetings and such like that before we were to put that on a ballot. But that's a good thing to put on there. So thank you, Caleb. Any other thing you have, Matthew? Matthew? Any more? Okay. Anyone else? See none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
You got it.
Second.
Got a motion by Damon, second by Matt. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned 8 o'clock. Thanks everybody for coming.